Welcome back. My name's Jessica from Jessica's Craft Time, and today we're going to do a little bit of a different take on the bubble background. I am filming this outside, so I apologize for any noise. I've got a dog barking and you'll probably hear some of the birds. But it's not a kind of thing I like to do inside, because our re-inkers are the ink that goes, you can re-ink your ink pads with. They will stain you. I've been playing with ink this morning and I've got it all over me. So, if you want to, put some gloves on so it doesn't stain your hands, if you're concerned about that. Myself, it doesn't bother me. It'll wash off in a day or so, so I'm not overly concerned. I do have a little glass bowl that just has a little bit of water in the bottom, and I'm just going to add some dishwashing liquid. This is what's going to give us our bubble, and we're going to do two different ones. This one is the Granny Apple Green, and I'm just using my Whisper White cardstock. So I'm going to put about, we'll see, we'll put about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's put 6 in, 6 drops. We'll see how it comes out. If we need to, we can always add a little bit more colour. So I've just got a straw here, mixing it up, and all we need to do is blow. Create a nice little bit of a bubble and pop your cardstock down on it. Now that's really, really light. So we'll put about another 4 drops. I tried this with the real red. So it sort of depends on the colour, how much colour you want to how much ink you'll need to use, and it's just experimenting. The darker colours are going to work better than the light. Ah, perfect. Can you see that? Love it. So just blow. Now, I'm not concerned about the surface that I'm working on here. This is an old table of ours that's actually going out in hard rubbish. So, but if you are doing it on a surface you're concerned about, I'd definitely be making sure you protect it. So you just keep going. You could do splots. I sort of want to cover this whole piece. So I'm just going to keep going until I've covered most of the sheet. Oh, that gave me lots there. So there you go. And set that aside to dry. You can use that for a background. So I'm just going to set that one off to the side. Now I've got the same one here. This one's already got dishwashing liquid in it. So this time we're going to use Pacific Point. So I'm going to put about 10 drops in. We'll see how that colour goes. And then, oh, that's very dark. Ah, look at that. If you wanted that lighter, you could go less drops on that one. Oh, look at that. Love it. I think if you blow more so you get more bubbles, it works better. But it just depends for whatever look you're going for. So there you go. Keep your eye out. I have an idea what I'm going to do with this blue. So I'm going to try and make this blue into a card next. So I'll pop it at the end of this video. Anyway, that's just a different way to do a bubble background. Just remember, the re-inkers will stain your surface. They will stain your hands. So make sure you're covering your surface. If you can do it outside, do it outside. I'm just doing it on a Whisper White, but if you did it on a shimmer paper, it would look beautiful as well. And just set it to side. That one's almost dried. It's just a bit, still a little bit wet where the thicker one is. If you wanted to dry it quicker, you can always throw a heat tool onto it. but that's a different idea on how to do a bubble background. So I hope you enjoy. Coming up right after this will be a clip on making these into a card. Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to use the bubble background that we just did to create a card. So I've made this little Christmas card. It says Merry Christmas from all of us. So that's a really cute little card, and we've used the blue bubble background in the back. Now, this card has come out of our Christmas catalog, and in the background of the card they actually used like a sponges to create and put ink on the back of the card, but I thought that the bubble background would look really sweet, and it's turned out really well. So let's get all the bits and pieces of paper that we need for the card. So first off, we need a card base. Now I do actually have one cut, it's just not scored, so we'll score that at 10.5, and grab your bone folder, which I put somewhere, and you've got your card base. So that's the first bit. The second bit is we need the background. Now I'm not perfect at getting my layers straight. As you can see, I've got a little bit less on here, so I've actually cut my DSP slightly smaller. So we just need to pick one, and I think I've got this pack is Tis the Season 6x6 Designer Series paper. It's great because it's got all your sort of traditional tartans and all sorts of colours in it, but I think we might go red this time. So as always with all my videos, I will link all the products that I used today, right down to the trimmers and everything that has been used for this project. I'll also put the list of what pieces we used. So for the DSP, I want 14.7. So I'm only cutting a smidgen off the edge here, and I really should have put a new blade in my trimmer, but I didn't. And then we want 10.3. So I've taken just 2 mil off the DSP. Keep all your scraps. All these little thin ones, I reckon I'm going to do some sort of card with stripes of them all over. So you've got your decorative DSP background. Now we need some white. So we need 2 pieces of the same. We need the back piece here, and then the bit that we're going to die cut. So these need to be 9.6. Where's 5, 6? And then we want 14. So as you can see, that will sit just a fraction smaller than the DSP, so you get the colour around the side. So we'll cut this one at 14 as well. And keep all your scraps, they come in handy. Now, we might as well cut the tag in the sentiment that we used. I used Real Red. Okay, where's my Real Red? Sorry, I forgot to grab that one out. That might be enough on that little piece there. Okay, so I'm just going to cut. I did do 2 and then I ended up trimming it down. Let's see what we ended up trimming it to roughly. About 1.5. So where's my 1.5 mark? Now I'm using this side of the trimmer. It's easier when you're cutting a thin strip because you can butt the whole length of the paper up so you get it straight. We'll cut that down, but I'll leave that for now. And then all we need is some scrap paper to do our stamping. So I'm going to put let's just put this together for now. Card base and your DSP, that just goes on. Now you want something that's quite a solid color. You don't want anything or a fine pattern. This one on the back probably wouldn't be any good because you wouldn't see much of it once you put the rest of it together. Oh, we didn't need 2 bits of white. My bad. We need the bubble background in one of them. We need 1 piece of white. That's okay. I can use that for another one. We need our bubble background. That was silly of me. So this should be already 9. What? Yeah, what? 9.6. That should be right. Yeah. 14. We needed the bubble background. Okay, card base, DSP, bubble background, the top of it, and then that's for our sentiment. So let's get started. We need to do some die cutting, but with the stamps that we're using today, we're using Have a Hoot, and the die cuts are Peek-A-Hoot Dies. When you're using these, what we're going to be using is, if you can see here, we stamped that image on the card, but then we're just going to cut out the owls. So let's go ahead and stamp all the ones that we need. Not going to get that. Let me see if I can grab a few pieces of scrap paper so that we're not wasting anything. I reckon we might be able to get them out of all of that. So this is just from my scrap box. So away we go stamping. I'm just using my Memento black ink, because we want to die cut these out. I think I need an ink refill, which I think I said that last time I used this stamp, but obviously I didn't refill it. So I actually want 2 of these because I've done these on the inside. Well, that doesn't matter if it overlaps. So that's 1. Then we want, I might use another piece of paper. That was almost really bad. That's got a mark on it. Let's turn it over and see if this side's okay. I love this little owl with a present. I think it's gorgeous. We'll put him on there. Now, which other ones do we need? The big one. So that's going to go on this one here. And this big one here will actually cut out into 2 pieces when it's die cut. All right. So we've got all our pieces. Now these were quite difficult to colour in once they were die cut. So I suggest you colour them in now. What we're using for our colouring today, I'm using a mix between, because I didn't have a dark enough blender pen, I've got a watercolour pen in early Esspresso, which I'm going to use with our blender pen. So that's what I used for, these are all the owls. This is what I used for the background, so we don't need it now. For the owls, let's start with the little green bit here. I've got Old Olive in the light colour, and I'm just going to colour in all our leaves here. And I've also got Poppy Parade Dark, and I'm going to do the berries because I think they're cute. What I'm also going to do is the hats. Now, your colouring doesn't need to be perfect, like I said, and I've always said. I probably should have done the top ones first so I don't put my finger in it. Handmade is handmade. Handmade is meant to have imperfections. And I'm going to do the present here as well. That's what handmade. If we want something that's got no imperfections whatsoever, go and buy store-bought. That's my whole theory anyway. Imperfections are imperfections. To colour in the owls, I've got light crumb cake and what's this one? Light soft suede. So I just did all the bellies of the owls in the lighter colour. And yeah, this is heaps easier than trying to colour them in once they're cut out. Unfortunately, if you make an error, you've then spent your time colouring, but I think colouring them in now outweighs the time as if you do any errors. When you're die cutting, I'm still learning to use my die cutting machine. I did have a few whoopsies when I cut the first card out, but that's okay. It's all a learning curve, and crafting's meant to be fun. You're meant to enjoy it. It's not meant to be stressful. I love it. I got a... Did I leave the card here? I did. I got a jumper made myself. I've got it on now. And I absolutely love it. I'll grab her card in a second. And it says, crafting is my happy place. And it's so true. It makes me happy. It lets me relax. I enjoy it. So yeah, crafting is definitely my happy place. I'd love to know in the comments below what crafts you do. I've dabbled in many crafts over the years. I've worked for both Lincraft and Spotlight. And I started at Spotlight when I was 15 and worked until I was 20 at Spotlight for 5 years. Have very fond memories of the people I worked with at Spotlight. And yes, dabbled in lots and lots of crafts. So we'll need these again, but I'll just move them off to the side. We need the Whisper White, and I'll move everything else off to the side for now. And this is what we're going to die cut. So I'm not sure, the camera might have to come up. Yeah, I'm just going to pull you guys up, sorry. Just so I don't, hopefully I haven't got too much of my messy desk in it. So these are our new cut and emboss machines. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Still got my scrap paper from last time. I've been using it a lot. What I didn't know is my plate was warping, and I messaged my upline. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And she goes, just keep flipping it. So I've started flipping it. Now, we could be a bit tricky and try and do two at once here. I'm just going to cut this one off so we don't have so much extra. And the same as this one here. We don't need any of that background stamping. I think two at once is going to be enough for me because I'm still learning and getting my placement right. So let's find our dies. You just want to line it up the best you can to your image. These are fairly easy to line up. I'm just really good at knocking the plate once I've lined it up. Okay. Let's go. Put our second plate on top. Hope I don't knock anything too much. And away we go. Those creaking noises are perfectly okay. So we've got two that we need. And And I need to cut a second one out on that one. Line it up, line it up, line it up. And I'm just going to trim this one down too so that we don't have too much extra paper. We'll cut out the rest of our owls. So this one will cut in two. It cuts the little leaves at the top. And then the owls out. And I love these owls too. The present owl and these little lovebird owls are my favourite. So away we go. Sorry if it wobbles the bench. So these are all our owls done. Now we just need to do like the peekaboo space. Don't want to throw my die out. Come off. Oops. Doesn't want to come out. It doesn't want to come out. Now that one I had probably a little bit low because you can see some of the branch, but that's okay. No one's going to be really looking that close at your card. This is for the top. So these are like tags. What prints out the center? All these tags. So I'm going to have all these tags that I can do something with later, but we're using them as like a window. So it actually, where did I put my card? It's hiding under here. It actually stitches the edge as well as the inside. So it gives you two uses. I want to put it a little bit lower because we want to put our sentiment up the top here. So yeah, not only do you get that great peekaboo that you could use with so many different things, you also get a heap of tags out of them. So it's sort of a double use die. Come on. So I'll show you what comes out of it in a second. I'll just move this out of our way. So we've got a little bit more space. Sorry, this might go loud. Yeah. Alright, let's bring you back down so you can see a bit better. So with this die, once you pop it off, there's our peekaboo windows that we're going to use today. And we've got 3 tags. So guess what? It's got a mark on it. No, it doesn't. These are going to be all my gift tags for Christmas. It's going to be awesome. Just have to sit and maybe that might be our next one, what we're going to do with our next video. What we're going to do with all of them. Alright, now it's time to do the background. So we need to stamp again. And I thought about stamping. I tried the stamping over this and using this as a template, but because it's raised edge, it didn't stamp very well. So if someone has a better suggestion, I'd love to hear it, but this is what I did when I can find it. I used a grey lead pencil. I lined up my card. These must be cut slightly different. We're going to have to trim it. And I just did a tiny little line around each. Oops, not on, you're not meant to do it on the white. Each peekaboo window. So that gives me, sorry, I just want to get that off my white. That gives me an idea of where those windows are going to be on our card. So then you grab your black ink and your 3 stamps again. Because we're going to stick the white on top, doesn't matter if this stamp's bigger. This gives me an idea of roughly where it is and I can stamp. Perfect. Now, don't forget to clean your stamps when you're finished with them. I have my chamois here. And it probably needs a little bit more water on it, but that's okay. So then we've got our lovely love owls, which are going up here. Yeah, I think that's worked all right. And then we have our little present owl, and he's going in the other peekaboo window here. As long as your image is not going into any of the other windows, you can stamp like this. I mean, it's all, couldn't think of another way to do it, but the pencil seemed to work for me, so that's what we did. And if you've watched any of my miniature videos, that's what I'm sort of about. I like to just show you and my brain process of how we actually get to them. So then I just took my eraser and just erase those lines, just so that if I happen to put the top piece of white paper not quite on the spot, we're not going to have any of those lines. But because the bubble background's done with ink and the stamping's done with ink, the eraser doesn't erase any of that. Now, all the owls, we're going to be sticking the die cuts on, but we need to colour in the branches. So for this, I used the green again, which was the light old olive. I want the other tip that I used in this one here that we cut out. So I'm just going along, and I'm just loving this bubble background. So cute. Got a few more cards to make, so I'm going to have to play around with the bubbles. Then for the tree branches, I didn't have any of our stamping blends, but I did have some watercolor. So I'm just going to use the watercolor pencil. Doesn't have to be perfect. Oops, I missed some leaves here. And you can go over the feet because our little cutout's going to come over them. And then I use the blend pen. And that just smooths out any of my colouring. I think it gives it a nicer look. So you can be kind of rough. With that, I then take a scrap piece of paper and just draw on it a couple of times until it draws clear again. Even though the tip's coloured, that doesn't matter because it's going to draw clear. So everything's coloured in. Now we just need to, oh, we've got one more thing to do. We might assemble it and then do the sentiment. So we've got our cutouts that I'm just going to glue straight on. I'm going to raise this section up, and did I raise? No, I didn't raise the sentiment. We're going to raise this whole section, and we're also going to raise the owls. So I've just used our Tombow multi glue, which is good because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room when you put it on. Now this one was slightly, oh no, that's okay. Just press down, get it to adhere in all those spots. Now I'm going to stick this on before I put my owls on. So we're going to use our dimensionals. Now, when you get to this point, I've only got a few left. Don't forget these side bits. And because we need quite a few bits for this, I'm going to use some of these side bits. You can use them as well. They work the same. But it just means you get a few more cards out of your dimensional sheets. Don't like to waste anything if I don't have to. Some people also go over the whole back of this sheet here with like a highlighter or a texture or something, so they're not white, because most of the time you're sticking on white, but it means that you can see where you've peeled off. Now just make sure it's up the right way, and you want to center it the best you can, which we all know I'm not very good at. So it's starting to take place. Now we need to grab our owls. And these little owls, I used the mini dimensionals, if I can get them off, because they're so tiny. And I think I used a big one there. No, I used the mini one on that too. Big one's too big. Then a couple more of our normal dimensionals on this one and this one here, if I can pick him up. And then you just stick it over top of your image that you've stamped. Yet again, lining up the best you can. Come off. I must remember to change my blade out of my trimmer. It's a bit fuzzy. Okay, come on, we're almost there. Now, if you jump on the website to buy a trimmer now, they are slightly different. There is a newer version of trimmers in. I haven't purchased one yet because I still have quite a few blades for my old one. And I don't really need 2 trimmers. So until my blades run out and I can't replace the blades, then I'm going to keep using my old one. Now for this one, because of the use that I'm using this card in, I actually need to cut this little owl off. But I'm not going to get rid of him. I'm going to put him in with all my tags. He'll become handy in there. And I'm just going to glue him in the front. So for the card the purpose of this card, I need 10 owls. So I'm just going to glue him in there. And the last lot of stamping in there is the other sentiment from here, which is from Owl of Us. Okay, so we've just got our sentiment to go. And I did heat embossing, which you all know that I love. I love my heat embossing, but I hadn't used white before. I got some white powder, heat embossing powder. Don't forget to put the lid on your stamp pad like I just did. All right, I'll just leave that open. Let's get our sentiment. So what you need your Versamark, you need a buddy, you need your powder, and you need a heat gun. Don't forget the buddy. What the buddy does is it stops the static of the paper or anything clinging, the powder clinging to it. You only want the embossing powder to stay on. I'm using Merry Christmas for this. You only want the embossing powder to stay on the ink. I like to make sure I've got lots of ink. Line it up the best you can. Oh, no, I didn't like that. I'm too high. I need to come down. I'm just going to flip it over. Yep, that's better. That's much better. So I put my powder in a bigger container, and I've just used a small scrap of paper as my scoop. Another good thing that you can use is, you know those scoops from the ice cream when you get sample ice cream, those little spoons, they're really good. Now I do apologize for the noise, but I'm going to turn the heat gun on. I'm just heating the back. I don't know if you can see it with my light. Okay, it's starting to change. There you go. All changed, and all my paper just fell down. I must have knocked it with the power cord. So there's our little sentiment, and I love it in the white. I think it looks amazing. Now, I used our punch. I can't remember the name of it. You'll have to look. You'll have to look in the description below because I don't remember the name. But I will link it below. So this is a little bit thinner than the spots on the punch. So I just have to line it up by eye. So I know the wording's there. So I just bring it back a little bit. Line it up the best I can. And there you go. Punch that out. Then we're going to adhere it to the front of the card. I just want to see where it's going to go. So I need to trim it about here. You can trim it with whatever you've got. Trimmer or scissors. Whatever you have. And this one I just stuck on. I didn't want to do another layer because we've already got 2 layers of, what's it called? 2-dimensional layers here already. Line it up to the edge of the white. And there you go. We have completed, let's move all these out of the way. We have completed our first Christmas card for the season. So that, oh no, one more thing I put on it. I forgot. These iridescent pearls. And I just popped one right in the middle here. Oops. Kind of in the middle. So the iridescent pearls, I kind of like the pearls in the middle of that. So there is the green, the red one we just made, and that is the green one there. And then inside is from Our of Us. Don't forget, you can always stamp your envelopes. I haven't stamped one yet, but I'll probably get round to doing it. Hope you enjoyed how to use the bubble background. Different way to my original bubble background. And you get into the spirit of starting to make some Christmas cards so all your friends and family can get something handmade this year. It's been a tough year for most people, so I'm sure a handmade Christmas card would be much appreciated. Hope you all have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you all soon. If you like my video, please think about giving me a thumbs up and subscribing. I'll see you all soon. Bye.